What's going on? It's Suk and I'm back with a brand new video on SuperDuprTech. In today's video, I'll be running a number of benchmarking tests on the brand new iPhone 14 Pro. As always, I will be uploading a video testing the camera's still and video capabilities, and once these videos have been uploaded, I'll be sure to leave them linked down below in this video's description. Finally, we are on the road to 5,000 subscribers, and if you are new around here, then I must ask you to hit the subscribe button, clicking the bell to be notified of when any of my new videos go live. Also, if you'd like to see what videos I'm currently working on, then be sure to follow me on my socials. But without any further ado, let's hit the titles. The first test I ran on this iPhone 14 Pro is, as you'd expect, was Geekbench 5. This is designed to test how well the CPU portion of the A16 Bionic system on a chip performs. Built on a 4nm process with its 6-core CPU design, the A16 Bionic has 2 high performance and 4 high efficiency cores. This test will run several different algorithms and score the iPhone based on how long it takes to complete said tasks. It then gives a score for both the single high performance CPU core along with testing the multi-thread performance. For this iPhone 14 Pro, we got single core scores of 1860, and when testing the combined 6 cores of the CPU, we got a multi-core score of 5354, which is approximately a 7% improvement on the single core side of things and a much larger 17% improvement on the multi-core side compared to the iPhone 13 Pro models, which is a decent amount, but hey, maybe the A16 has other bigger differences. Perhaps the GPU? So whilst I was editing this video, I realized that I had totally forgot to run the Geekbench 5 compute test to test how well Metal ran on this iPhone 14 Pro. So I managed to complete the test off camera, and this is a screenshot. As you can see, I got a score of 15,733, which is not as good as I was expecting. I mean, the iPhone 13 Pro, I had a score of 14,220, so there really isn't that big of a difference when we're speaking graphically, but hey, it's still an improvement, you know, so yeah, take it for what it is. The next lineup of tests which I ran on this iPhone 14 Pro were once again from Geekbench, but this time their new lineup of machine learning tests which are designed to run on the CPU and GPU along with the neural engine on the A16. So for this test, I got a machine learning CPU score of 1011, which is a 6.3% improvement, and on the GPU side, I got 2532, which is a much larger 26% improvement compared to the iPhone 13 Pro from last year. And when testing the machine learning elements on the neural engine, I got much higher scores this time of 3211 compared to the 2189 which I got on the iPhone 13 Pro, which is an improvement of over 40%. So I'd certainly expect background tasks to be completed much faster on these newer models. The next test which I ran on this iPhone 14 Pro was GFX Bench Metal. Now this is a pure graphics based benchmark which is designed to run a number of tests using the Metal Graphics Accelerator. These tests vary from higher and lower levels of intensity and are run both on and off screen. And in the interest of saving time, I have calculated the average for these results, but of course I will show you each individual result. So the average I got for the higher intensive graphics tasks was 88.61 frames per second, whereas I got an average frame rate of 240.83 frames per second when rendering at lower resolutions. As always, I ran a network speed test, this time testing both the Wi-Fi and 5G speeds. Simply put, I got a Wi-Fi download speed of 365 megabits per second, and I also got an upload speed of 31.9 megabits per second, which was indeed a little higher than what I'm used to, as I am paying for a 200 megabits per second connection. I then started testing the 5G download speeds. I also want to mention that I am currently based in the UK and there is no millimeter wave 5G speeds that you will find here. In fact, we only use the sub 6 GHz. Now, I am connected using EE and I got a download speed of 336 megabits per second and an upload speed of 35.2 megabits per second. I'm definitely not complaining here, as in most cases, as the speeds that I get from my cellular network is a lot better than what I typically get from my home broadband provider. The next graphics test I ran was this time Antutu. Now this test is designed to run several different graphics tests, and then based on how they perform, it'll then grade the device with a score. So for this time around with this iPhone 14 Pro, I got an Antutu score of 940,516. The next test I ran was once again from Antutu, but was this time designed to test how well the HTML5 performance is on this iPhone 14 Pro. So for this test I got a score of 67,363. And the final test that I ran from Antutu was a storage speed test. Now for this test, I got a general score of 59,405 with a sequential write speed of 1,667.4 megabytes per second, a sequential read speed of 1,701.8 megabytes per second. The next tests I ran on this iPhone were purely graphically based, coming from 3D Mark. The first which I attempted to run on this device was the wildlife graphics test. Now with this, in fact, it didn't want to give me a score, saying that the device had in fact maxed out. So top scores here, and the first device that I've ever tested to max out. And after getting this score, I then decided to run the wildlife stress test, and the highest score that I got this time around was 9,523, and the lowest I got was 6,537. Which certainly isn't the maxed out that I was hoping to see once again, so there is certainly a difference in performance when the device is stressed, and it does drop the performance slightly. But the difference in the highest and lowest scores when running this stress test was a performance drop of 37%, which is a much higher drop in performance when compared to even the 13 Pro. Certainly interesting, as the iPhone 14 Pro has a new thermal system inside, which at this point doesn't really seem to be doing much. I pretty much did the same thing again, this time running the Wildlife Extreme graphics test, which as the name would imply is a much more intense test, running these tests at a higher resolution. When running this test, I got a score of 3,379, and when I ran the Wildlife Extreme stress test, the highest score I got here was slightly lower at 3,256, and the lowest I got was 2,174, which is once again a massive decrease in performance. In fact, when I ran the same test on the iPhone 13 Pro, the lowest score that I had was 2,200, which is in fact higher than the iPhone 14 Pro. I would have thought that with this new thermal solution, it would have meant that we get sustained performance and not higher at the start and then a drop off lower than the previous models. Certainly a little disappointing, but maybe this new thermal system has advantages that are beneficial in other ways. The final test I ran on this iPhone was an export of a 4K video file. Previously I'd been able to export video projects at a range of different resolutions, but this time it doesn't seem to be the case with this new version of iMovie, with it only allowing me to export the footage at the same resolution in which it was imported in. So this video project had a length of 5 minutes and 24 seconds, and as I say, this was a 4K export, which this time around with this iPhone 14 Pro with its A16 Bionic system on a chip, it took 3 minutes and 32 seconds to complete. Now this is quite interesting, as the iPhone 13 Pro from last year did this export in 3 minutes and 29 seconds. Interesting. So that will be all for today's video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you do want to see more videos or this iPhone 14 Pro compared to other devices, then be sure to subscribe clicking the bell icon to be notified when these videos go live. The next video I will be uploading will of course be a camera test showcasing what the cameras on this iPhone 14 Pro are capable of producing, and then I'll also upload a video comparing the cameras to other iPhones. So once again, be sure to subscribe, you definitely don't want to miss out on that. If you do want to see what other videos I am working on, then be sure to follow me on my social media, links to which can be found down below in this video's description. And if you have got any questions with anything you would like to see further tested on this iPhone, then be sure to leave a comment down below in this video's comment section. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care and have a good one.